This is Liverpool gangster Curtis "Cocky" Warren. He's the first and only drug trafficker to appear on the list of Britain's richest people. Some estimate his fortune to be as high as £300 million. And Warren isn't the only Liverpool villain to have made millions from crime. This is the story of how Liverpool crooks went from run-of-the-mill robbers to drug-dealing millionaires. As a city that spawned the Beatles and all-conquering football teams became the UK's centre of excellence for drug smuggling.
Armed robberies were committed, kitties were made, and that was the implosion of the drugs.
And I remember this firm saying to me, "Charlie, it's like throwing £1 million into the River Mersey." I said, "I don't want to get involved in it."
A ton was nothing. I mean, we started off with a ton, but a ton was nothing.
This is also the story of how police finally brought down Liverpool's Mr. Biggs, with more than a little help from an informer.
See, there's being a grass and being a grass. They are killing people slowly, and the likes of them people shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Liverpool is a city made great by its port. In the 18th century, the slave trade funded its rise. 100 years later, Liverpool ships carried British products around the globe. And by the early 20th century, the city was at its peak. Its position on England's northwest coast, facing the Americas, helped it dominate transatlantic trade and gain the nickname the New York of Europe. But by the Second World War, its heyday was over. As Britain traded more with Europe, Liverpool found itself on the wrong coast. Yet its days as a booming international city had left a legacy. There were grand commercial buildings, long-established immigrant communities, and the first signs of illegal drugs. Future crime lord Michael Showers grew up in Toxteth, the heartland of Liverpool's black community, and he was aware of one drug from an early age.
I'd seen weed from childhood. I'd seen it being sold, being brought in on ships by seamen and things like that. So it was just a normal, everyday part of my life.
At this time, cannabis smoking was largely associated with Liverpool's black community.
Weed originated in black countries. Black seamen brought it to Britain, and there's mostly black people who smoked weed rather than drank.
In the 1950s, a third of all British convictions for illegal drugs were in Liverpool. Yet this drug dealing remained small-scale and localised. For aspiring criminals, there were far more obvious routes to riches, especially robbery. Charlie Seeger is a Liverpool villain whose career began in the 50s.
We were rebelling at the time, really, the way our forefathers were kept down, working in factories and all that crap, you know what I mean? We wanted a car and we wanted nice things in life, and the only way I could acquire it was stealing, robbing.
In the 1950s, Britain's economy was largely cash-based. Aged 17, Seeger found the easiest way to get that cash was safe blowing.
Blowing a safe was so simple. People thought, oh, it's the pinnacle of excellence, you know, the top gangsters, top robbers, you know, safe blowing, oh my God. So simple. And what you done is you laid the safe down on its back. Now here's the simplest part. You open a packet of jelly igniter, and you just pushed it into the keyhole. Then you'd get your detonator, and you'd push it right in. Just light it, get behind the wall somewhere, or behind an office desk, and it'd just go bump, like a dull thud bump.
Seeger formed a small gang and became a regular safecracker. But though he claims blowing a safe was easy, keeping the blast secret was not.
Every time a safe was getting blown, it was like a chase, or it was on top. Sometimes we'd have to abandon everything and go.
So Seeger says he had a brainwave.
Every single family went to the pictures, and they were full up every night. And I knew there was plenty and plenty of readies in them safes. Plus the fact, you stand outside a picture house and there's a big war film going on inside, you can't hear it. You know it's soundproof.
Blowing a safe in a cinema made criminal sense, so Seeger put his theory to the test. He broke into a picture house with his brother and another robber one Sunday night. Seeger kept watch, whilst the other two set the explosives.
And it was my brother, my older brother, and he shouted down to me, "Hey," he said, "everything okay there?" And I'd seen two coppers further down the road on the way up, and I just wanted to test my theory. I thought, I'll tell them it's okay, you know the way you do. And I shouted, "Yeah, go on, blow it. Dead custody down here, no problem, you know." The safe went off. I looked at the two coppers across the road, and he didn't bat an eyelid.
Cracking cinema safes proved Seeger's route to making big money.
So we were knocking picture houses off left, right and centre. And it was big money to us. I mean, don't forget I was a 17, 18-year-old kid.
But robbing cinemas couldn't last forever. Picture houses got wise to the robbers and upped their security. So criminals like Seeger had to move on.
It's like everything else. The authorities bring all these sophisticated alarm systems out, but the criminal mind somehow overcomes that and finds a way around it.
As Seeger went in search of new ways of stealing money, the cops were barely keeping up with the robbers. Albert Kirby joined Liverpool police in 1964, when techniques were far from sophisticated.
We all felt that we were behind their game because we didn't have the availabilities to do surveillance, to gain evidence and the forensic issues. You had to have a book to tell you walk down one street, turn right down another. That's how pathetic it was.
By the time Kirby was patrolling the streets in the 60s, villains had moved on from safecracking.
Big money then was security vans and post office vans, and so it was all like wage snatchers then. Quick, fast, 2 minutes in and out.
Michael Showers was one young robber. He'd been sent to juvenile prison in 1963 for his part in a dance hall stabbing. He claims his experiences there set him off on a career as a criminal.
I came out of Borstal a very bitter and angry youth. Very, very bitter. And I started stealing then. It got so that your name gets bandied about in certain groups. You get known. And that's where I started doing armed robberies, blags, banks, vans, anything at all.
Michael Showers was now a professional crook.
Some people carry a briefcase and went to work at 9 to 5. Our group carried a shotgun and balaclavas, and we went to work whenever we did.
Showers was establishing himself as an armed robber, but he would go down in criminal history for a different reason. In the mid-60s, society was changing. A revolution in youth culture, with Liverpool and the Beatles at the forefront, was transforming attitudes, and drug use was on the rise. In 1966, Liverpool police formed a vice squad to deal with the new clubs and the increase in drug use. Albert Kirby signed up.
People then were using drugs as part of their social habit. You know, the Purple Hearts, as they used to call them then, which was the main drugs, which was